Bude. So this is the Körting Tele-Multiplay 825/042. Was released in 1977 and is basically one of millions of Pong consoles. So it has the famous Pong chip, the AY-3-8500 inside. And as I said, so there are like millions of those Pong consoles, and normally when you say something like a Pong console or Pong, you mainly mean some of those consoles. Now, as I said, third generation of Pong console, since it has this like dedicated chip inside. And as we always do, we will have a look at the console. We'll also check what we can read about the topic. We make a short demonstration. As always, we never change a running system, I would say. So yeah, let's have a look. So there are special issues about Pong. So for example, from the German Retro magazine, or also from the good old Retro Gamers. So there's like a special about 40 years of Pong. So there you can also read some of the history or the early video game history, how everything has started and how it got the first peak with the Pong consoles. Yeah, and when we have a look inside, then you can also see some variations of the Pong consoles. So they even included here now the Odyssey as well as the home version of the Atari Pong. Also the Philips console, which I showed in the last video, and also some other consoles. But as I said, so mainly they all have the same chip, except of the Odyssey and the Philips system and the Atari system. But most of the time it was the same chip inside or the same logic inside, and only a different like a vendor or something like that, distributor, and a different plastic case or something like that. And here you can also see the outline of the arcade machine back then. So when normal people talk about Pong, they mainly mean those Pong consoles or the arcade machine from the arcade machine from 1972, and the Pong consoles, which became popular 1977, 1978 or something like that. But if you want to find something, you can definitely find something in those special issues of the magazines. And to explain the first secret, so this number from the console 825/042 comes from that it was a mail order console, which you could order by like a catalog or something like that. I think every country in the world had something like this before the online shops started to rise. So we will have a look inside. We'll check how a living room in the 1970s in Germany would look like. And then we will show about, or we'll have a look at the section about the telegames at that time, which could be quite interesting. And this is how like a living room would have looked like in the 1970s. I mean, you can say it's like timeless. I mean, you cannot hardly even see that this is from the 70s. But even when you were at your grandma in the 90s, you still saw some of these like furniture or something like that. But yeah, let's continue to have a look inside the catalog. So when we look at the vacuum cleaners, you can already see a problem. So red and yellow was already invented, so we could also use orange. Green, I think, was only invented like 1 or 2 years ago, but they still had to figure out how to find the blue with the blue period, basically, and that's why all the vacuum cleaners and all the stuff basically was just in 3 colors, so red, yellow, and green, and orange. So yeah, so let's have a look now at the TV and like telegames section of the catalog. So there were like special TVs which already had like the Pong games built inside. So you can also see this in this case is a color TV, and with the newest feature like a remote control, which was like thick as 3 toast slices. Yeah, but basically they also made versions which were built into the TV directly. And but let's have a look at the special console, so the one I showed earlier. And to see the price and everything, how it was advertised back then. So this is the selection of the Pong games in 1977, 1978. So here you can see our console, the Körting Tele-Multiplay 825/042, and you can also see that, maybe you can see it, that the article number is basically, or item number is the same in this case, so that's why it's called this way. So this is basically like the most basic version, black and white, and has just like the Pong versions of the games. So the rifle games, they are included inside the chip, but they are not selectable on this console. You can also see some like more advanced consoles then, which also have the rifle accessoire, as well as some color variants, and also here like a pimped up version, which also has a better chip inside. But this is basically the whole selection at that time. And we will also have a look at one of the other catalogs which I own, which are then like from 1980 or something like that, so we can see how the selection has changed and how the prices may have changed. So let's have a short look inside those catalogs. So, and here you can see like the selection from like half a year later, from summer of 1978. You can see that our console, which we own, is not available anymore, but there's another basic version, which is also a little bit cheaper. But other than that, not much has changed. So there's just like a version which now has like a car race or something like that. But other than that, not much has changed. So let's have a look at the other catalogs. And this is now with the golden catalog, like the competitor of Neckermann, which is Quelle. So they also had their own line of Pong-Consoles. So we will have a look inside. So this is now from 79, 80. It's always cool to look inside one of those catalogs, but I should mention that always with the women underwear section of those catalogs, the pages are quite sticky, so I'm not sure why actually. So you can already see that the Pong-Consoles were pushed aside by some microprocessing, high processing stuff or something like that. I'm not sure what this is all about. I mean, we will also have a look at the Atari VCS in a future video, as well as the Intertone VC4000. But that's about it. So you can see end of 1979, beginning of 1980, at least for this vendor, they were already pushed aside and the other stuff took over. So, and this is now the competitor again, the one we had the first look at, Neckermann, and they didn't had the like processor stuff or something like that yet. They had what I would call the fourth generation of Pong-Consoles with the interchangeable cassettes, and you can also see in general, like from nearly 2 pages, it was cut down now to half a page. So at least for this vendor, I think the topic was already gone and they sold the last stuff or something like that. So we can have a look at the a final catalog again, and then I would say we have a look at the console and how it looks like and what the ports are and everything. And this is now the final catalog which I wanted to show from summer 82. From Quelle with the golden catalog, and they still had some inventory, it seems, so they still had to sell those stuff, but you can already see like the future is here with the Intertone and the Atari, and you can also see they made some space now for screenshots for some of the games. So this will probably then will not be in the next or the catalog a year after, but I don't own that. But this is everything I wanted to show about the catalogs, so let's have a look at the consoles, I would say. So this is how the console looks like. Actually, I quite like the design. I would say there are far more ugly Pong-Consoles. So here we have the battery compartment, an on-off switch, a second switch for selecting the relevant game. So you have tennis, football, squash and pelota. Here we see again that there are some holes for the audio, so there's a speaker underneath. So the audio is also coming from the console itself and not from the TV. Then we have like a reset button to reset the score or the game. And then here we have 4 switches which can change the difficulty of the game. So if the bets of the player should be long or short, if the ball should be manual or auto-served to the game, if the speed of the ball should be slow or fast, and the angle of the ball when it hits the bat, how it should be, so that it would be easier or more difficult in this case. So those were like common switches on all of the Pong consoles. So as I said, there's no connectivity for a rifle or something like that, but actually this is built in, but just not used by this Pong version or by this Pong console. But let's have a look also at the side and the back of the game console. The most interesting part, in my opinion, is that they even made like own ports for the hand controllers. So there's nothing hardwired to this Pong console. So you can exchange like a faulty hand controller or something like that. I mean, in the end, it's just like a potentiometer. But as I said, so they made the effort to create own ports for that. And even on the back side, you can see that they also created a port for the TV connection. So this is like an RCA connection, but so the cable which was included is an RCA to like an RF connector to our European RF connector. And there's also like a port for the power supply. But as I said, you can also use 6 1.5 volt baby cells in this case. But as I said, so in my opinion, this is the only Pong console which I know which has like no hardwired either controllers or like a TV connection or something like that, which in my opinion makes this console very interesting. And on the underside, you can also see that this product is licensed under the patents of Magnavox. So I think when you look in the internet, some people say that actually Magnavox made more money with the actual patents, which they got also from Ralph Baer, because they released the first video game system or home video game system, than with the actual Odyssey in this case. And down below you can also see there's a switch between channel 3 and 4, whether you can check which frequency is better for your individual TV. But that's about it about the console. So let's also have a look at some of the other Körting consoles which were released. So this is now nearly the whole lineup by Körting for their Pong consoles. So we have here the Körting Tele-Multiplay 825042. Then we have the Körting Tele-Multiplay L, which is 825050. And basically they are nearly the same. So with both of them you can just play the tennis or Olympic games of the Pong chip. So like your tennis, squash, pelota and everything like that. So there's also no gun port or something like that for this console. I mean, they all released those consoles in parallel, so I'm not sure why they even bothered to make 2 different versions, which was restricted in both cases. So they are both black and white. Then there was like a middle version, or like a middle version between this console and this console, which was the Körting Tele-Multiplay 4000 Color, which I don't own, which is basically this version, but in this case, but also has the color chip inside. So just the tennis games or the Olympic games, but with like the color chip inside. Then we have this one here. This is the Körting Tele-Multiplay 6000 Color. This has the color chip inside as well as the gun port. So with this one you can play the Pong variants and the tennis games and everything, as well as the shooting games. And basically, I mean, all those 3 consoles in this case have the same chip inside, which is the AY-3-8500, and this one just has the color chip, which is the AY-3-8500. But as I said, so they have like the same logic and the same games inside. And the highest version of Pong consoles from Körting was the Körting Tele-Multiplay 8000 Color, which had the successor chip from the Pong, from this Pong chip, which was the AY-3-8610. And this also has like a different color chip than the AY-3-8615. And so this is like the highest version of the of the Körting Pong-Consoles. And you can also see by the controller, it's not just like up and down in this case, it's also like left and right. So you have 2 axes in this case. That's why I said it's like the successor of this like early Pong chip. So here you can see you just have like up and down or something like that. Also with the knobs you can just control like one direction. And that's basically it, I would say. So this is the whole lineup released in parallel, and we will just have a demonstration now of this console, of this most basic variant, which is in black and white. Then we discuss some other thing, and then we will do a wrap up, and basically we are finished for this video again. I will also make like a second or like an additional video where I show some more Pong versions or Pong-Consoles, because I have so many of the stuff. And I will also show which one has the same chip, so which will look the same, and also which has a different chip, because there were maybe like a handful of chips which were used back then. But other than that, as I said, this is the lineup by Körting. So let's have a short demonstration of this basic black and white version. So let's turn on the console. So and now we have to reset everything. And then basically it's your most favorite video game, it's Pong again. So that's about it. So you can see that already the 2 angles are set up, so that sometimes it's returned in a 45 degree, sometimes in a 20 degree angle. But let's shortly go over the different variants or switches we can use. So there's like the ball speed, which we can like increase or decrease. Then there is the bat size, so small or big. In this case, then we have the different angles, which makes the game easier or harder, depending how you want to see it. And then we have like the serve button switch. So now it's on manual serve. So I have to press the button now to serve a ball. Or as I said, I can also put it to auto serve, so I don't have to press any button to like serve a ball or something like that. But other than that, that's basically it. So it's like your most beloved Pong, as you already saw it in the last 2 videos. I mean, of course we have now a score or something like that, which maybe we can also show that goes up to 15. And then it basically stops and you have to reset the console again. So now it's on 15, and now the next point is basically not counted, because it's now finished and you would need to reset the game again. So this is now tennis. Then we have the version which is football. So you have like 2 players in this case, and the game field is a little bit smaller, so that's why they call it football. Then we have squash, which is like basically hitting against the same wall and in alternate order. So you always have to make sure that the right bat is hitting the target or the ball. And then we have like a training wall, which basically you can use when you have no friends. Yeah, but other than that, basically that's everything I can show, and in my opinion. I mean, we already saw Pong in the last 2 videos, and one of the disadvantages is, of course, that you cannot like change the volume on the console, so it's always like this loud. So if you want to play it in the night, you could like disturb your parents or something like that. But I mean, you can mod this console. You can make like that the picture quality will be better, because I mean it's now quite good, I would say. But I actually had to get my older TV because on my other TV it was not working. So sometimes with especially with the black and white consoles, maybe I put it on manual server again. No, maybe I shut it like this. The manual or the channel search sometimes also checks for the color burst in the video signal, but so the black and white TV signal doesn't have like this color burst frequency or signal inside. So sometimes it's hard for, at least for an automatic channel search, to find the TV signal of those Pong consoles. So in this case I had the manual channel search, which worked quite well, and which I could use to set up the console. But as I said, you can mod the console and do some other things. And maybe you can also see that the bed is a little bit jiggly. Basically this is because the potentiometer in this case is a little bit dirty, so we can also like open that and clean that up in a future video, but this will take probably months or years until I have already finished all the console presentations and everything like that. But the next thing we will do is we will also check something like the people call it like a seventh or undocumented game, which should be playable with this console. So we will have a look at that and review that, if it is really like an undocumented game or something like that. And then we will basically wrap up and finish the video. So to check something about this mysterious seventh game or undocumented game, we will have a look at the collection of data sheets for those early like TV game circuits from General Electric. And those collection, actually, we will have a look at also in the next video, when we have the 4th generation of Pong-Consoles, as well as one of the consoles is also described in here, which will follow then. But we will have a look now at the datasheet of the AY-3-8500, and then we can see that there's this game select switch, which is connected to ground. And then normally this should be like connected to one of 6 pins from the chip. To select if we want to play tennis or squash or pelota or one of the rifle games. And this mysterious 7th game is now selected when none of the 6 pins now is connected to ground in this case. And then we have our like 7th game handicap. We will have a look at this. You need a special like Pong-Console or like a special switch array for this, that you can actually like not select one of the games, so that it's not, so one of the 6 pins or all of the 6 pins are not connected to ground. And then, as I said, we get this 7th game. So we will have a look at this, and then I tell you in my opinion why this is completely rubbish. And since we are now in this like datasheet collection, we can also see that they also had some quite nice ideas. So like even for black and white TV, that you had like a pseudo color mod, or like a grayscale mod in this case, where the background was gray, and then the one player would be black and the other player would be white. So it was always clear for the 2 players who's black and who's white in this case, which like with an additional circuitry you could achieve this. But in my opinion, none of the consoles actually had this implemented. But if you have time, you can check at the circuit diagram here and can find out how they did it, because in my opinion it's quite funny. Yeah, but in my opinion, as I said, so none of the consoles actually had implemented this. So, and this is now the mysterious 7th game. So what you can see is here we have like player 1, which has only like 2 bets in this case, and we have player 2, which has 3 bets in this case. So that's why people call this like handicap. So one of the players has one more bet as the other one. And as I said, so in my opinion, it's completely rubbish to say that this is like an undocumented game or something like that. What happens here is that basically, since you select none of the games, you also select all of the games at once. So in this case, like the 2 games, which is like one is football and the other one is pelota or training, then wins. And what happens is you get the playfield of football, and then you get the additional bet from pelota or training. And that's why you have 3 bets for the one player and only 2 bets for the other player. So as I said, if you want to call this like an undocumented game or something like that, I'm not sure if you should call it like that. It's more like a bug or a glitch, I would say. And as you can see on the top now, I used a different Pong-Console because you actually need a Pong-Console where you can have the possibilities to select none of the games. So at the top you can see these, like a UI designer would say, like radio buttons or something like that. So the orange ones, and I have selected none of the games now because none of the radio buttons is pressed. And that's why we get this like 7th undocumented game. Yeah, but other than that, we didn't have to look now at the color version of Pong, but to be honest, it's not that special. We will have the flash next time when we have a look at the fourth and final generation of Pong-Consoles, which were the Pong-Consoles with the interchangeable cassettes. And then we have a color version for Pong as well. And for this we will have a look at the SHG Blackpoint FS 1003. And then we have finished the Pong history, and then we can have a look at the more interesting games, but we will see. So see you in the next video.